address, please?
Anthony Inman, 2310 Brook Hollow. Good morning, Councilman and Mayor. Thank you for serving and giving up your time. Appreciate it. I certainly don't know all the issues. I haven't talked to Mr. Schreiber and engineering staff and don't claim to know all the TCEQ rules. So I'm just coming here as a citizen and a taxpayer and a small business owner. I do use roll-off services and the normal day-to-day use of our business. Not a huge amount, but just part of our practice. So I'm just coming to you with some kind of ideas or concerns. If there is 30 or 40 boxes per month, we pay on average $140 to $150 per box. So it's a pretty small fee in the big picture stuff. So if the city's gonna provide 30 to 40 boxes for the customers that don't meet whatever this TCQ says they don't fit, like Russell said, I think it would probably take 8 to 12 years to recoup your cost on this initial purchase, which, after that, then you've got diesel, maintenance, manpower, oil in the tires, that kind of stuff. So I just want to throw out some ideas. It's my understanding there's about a $2 delta between the cost to take the waste to Iowa Park and Wichita Falls landfills. Like they said, it's closer to go to Wichita Falls, so I think that's usually where the trash haulers would prefer to go. Roads are better, shorter distance, which means they're getting the boxes in service faster. So if it's a matter of convenience and hours, maybe, sometimes it would go to Iowa Park. So what I would kind of ask you to think about is maybe we make an ordinance where all the trash in Wichita Falls generated here goes to the landfill. If that would lessen the cost. Obviously, when I do a job, construction job, if a lot of the waste in the landfill is coming from construction, then the people doing the construction should bear that burden, whether it's the customer or me, and however that works out. But a $2 delta is not a big difference on the cost at the landfill. That's one thing to consider. Could we pass an ordinance to say all waste generated in Wichita Falls goes to the Wichita Falls landfill? Government holidays or federal holidays and other things like that, obviously that comes into play because the business doesn't really slow down. The other thing is just to think about, could we contract out those waste hauling services? Just like we do tow truck services, the city doesn't provide those. They say it's a specialty niche. We don't want to bear the cost of buying these large semi-truck tow haulers for 1 day a week or 1 day, however that every day. They subcontract that out. So like I told you, I'm paying in the $140 to $150 range for the service per box. So that's a pretty small fee. The tonnage is the tonnage. So if I have 3 tons in the box or if I have 5 tons in the box, I do pay additional fee on top of that for the tonnage of the waste. But just want to bring those two things to consider. Consider an ordinance to say all the waste from Wichita Falls goes to our landfill to generate more revenue, kind of offset the cost overall for all the taxpayers. Or could we subcontract out these hauling services for, say, $150, $200, whatever the fee is, versus spending the $800,000 to $1 million, use that money to pay for, whatever the needs the sanitation department has. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anthony.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
How would you police that? How would you say that all trash from Wichita Falls goes to Wichita Falls dump? How would you police that?
Councilman Brewer, I would say in our democracy, everything's predicated on people doing the right thing. So how do you police people paying their taxes? 95% of people do the right thing. I think these businesses would honor that, but there'd be no way to police it. You'd have to keep an eye on it, but generally you'd have to take people at their word.
Such as permits or something
Yeah,
like that?
permit, yep, that's right.
All right, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you, Anthony.
thank you.
Good morning. Chad Witherspoon, owner of Luxury Bath, 4107 McNeil. Today I'm here not to save a company, like it's been brought up today. I'm here to talk to the city that you've created a rule, and that's been brought up, that you can create rules kind of as you go along, whether it's this council or a council that's further down the road. You've created rules that has forced these companies to get what we've said today, get back in their lane. The problem is that lane has not existed for at least 12 years. I've been in business for just over 10. The city has never been, you talked about the little rollout plastic dumpsters. Yes, they're not going to be able to provide that because the city provides that. The city does not provide a rollout service. That's why we've reached out to 2 separate companies over the last 10 or 11 years. You haven't provided that at all. The problem that I have is that I think you've a little bit blindly, and maybe it's come up a little bit that you probably should step back and re-talk about these ordinances. I think there's some things that create a scary path. And you've blindly, and maybe not blindly, are in the process of creating a monopoly. Yes, with us, we probably roll, just to say that we probably go through 5 roll-offs a month. So we, maybe 6. We do demos. Those demos are quite quick. Can you not hear me? I'm sorry, Mayor.
I'm having
Okay.
to turn it up a little bit.
Okay, so we go through 5 or 6 roll-offs a month at the tune of about 250, maybe when they're super heavy, 350 a load. When you, excuse me. The kicker is that I can call any of these, however many companies, and I can get a competitive rate amongst any of those people. Once the city takes that over, what guarantees me a competitive rate? Which I know I've heard of cost. I know that we're gonna do it as cost, but then all of a sudden, when these brand new trucks we buy this year, and we've bought a few more trucks or a few more containers, because maybe the business is bigger than you think, when does that cost increase stop? Or where does that stop? And my point, and I know we don't want to compare cities, is I have a small location in Grand Prairie. It is monopolized. The city sold that business, just like Mr. Inman had talked about. What if we farm that out to somebody else? Well, they did. Those containers cost me anywhere from $700 to $800 a month in Grand Prairie. Exact same containers and exact same amount of trash. So we can't run to the landfill. The landfills do close on holidays. You know, I've had a few conversations with some folks here at City Hall. We bring our stuff on Sunday evenings or Saturday mornings and just random times. And we go through a lot of trash that we can't leave at a customer's house, obviously. And we don't need a roll-off because our jobs are only a handful of days, typically. So with that, I'm not guaranteed, going back, I'm not guaranteed that price. With the $1 million in excess funds that you're buying this from is fantastic. But why are we wanting to just blow that money when we could use that to something else? When we have companies that already provide that service. And that obviously that excess $1 million, wherever that's come from, has come from these guys bringing trash. Yeah, we're not guaranteed that, Mr. Brewer, that they're gonna bring the city trash out. Honestly, as a paying taxpayer in this community, I would prefer these guys to run that out to Wichita Falls. I think Wichita Falls does deserve that income when that trash comes from. And we drag trash from all over multiple counties, but when it comes back to our facility, we should have to pay for that. I do agree with that. In the end, just to close up, I just think that I'm scared that once this is created, you've created a monopoly and you're not gonna stop at those increased prices. So all of a sudden, if my roll-offs do, and I live in that nightmare, if my roll-offs do double in price, what do I do about that? And I haven't been able to stop that. So going back to the task at hand is I think you are putting the cart before the horse, approving all of these huge numbers and something that you don't quite have a handle on, I don't think. That there probably should be some rules in place and then make a game plan. Thank you for your time.
Anthony, do you want to address the fees, how it works? If Russell sets a fee for a roll-off, can he arbitrarily just tomorrow double it?
No, the fees are set by the city council. Every year we have a fee ordinance that comes to council. It has all the sanitation fees on it. And we ask this council every year to tell us what those fees should be based on what y'all think is best.
So that once a fee is set, you know, I think some of the fear is, well, it'll just ratchet out of control and I'm forced to use an $850 dumpster rather than a $150 dumpster. Your council is your backstop for that. Matter of fact, we you know, when we get these fee increases, you know, we ask for them for the justification for that.
What if that is farmed out to a private company?
What is what farmed out?
The process. Republic does Grand Prairies. The city of Grand Prairie does not haul their trash in any form or fashion. So what if that's farmed out to us?
We have no control.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
I think, if I could, Mayor.
Well, that's kind of back with what
Yeah, let's, before,
Go ahead.
I want to address that. What you're talking about, what Grand Prairie did and other communities that farm it out, they enter into what's called a franchise agreement. That takes city council action to do that. And those companies pay on average 4 to 6% of their entire gross receipts back to the city for that, which is probably why you saw the increase in your dumpster cost, because that was an added cost. But the point I was trying to make was staff can't just farm it out. There is a lengthy process to franchise something. And again, we talked about that in December as an option, and the feedback we got from City Council was we did not want to go that route. So staff we're not planning to recommend that to you. We already put that out as an option, and the feedback we got was, no, we do not want to go that route.
And Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, the last speaker had indicated that he thought we were going from a place to a monopoly. And I wanted to clarify what we're doing is just the opposite, where we have a monopoly now, and what we're trying to do is change the ordinance to allow more people to get into the businesses that aren't authorized, formally at this point. So we're doing just the opposite of that. We're trying to open it up more formally and legally.
Yep. Name and address, please.
My name is Wayne Ferris. I live at 7 Mayfair Terrace here in Wichita Falls. I'm a private citizen. I'm not in construction. I'm not in the roll-off business. I have occasionally hired them, but not in several years. All of you have chosen to serve on this council. I have a spirit of public service. I know you're not here for the money. Your job here, I believe, is to make sure that the interest of the citizens is reflected in the policies of the city government. Frankly, I've been appalled that the mayor has used the word "we" at least twice and said "we" and was referring to city employees, Mr. Lockert and Mr. Schreiber. I want to remind you, Mayor, you're not one of the city employees. You weren't appointed by them. You were elected by the public. Your job here is to represent.
I actually stated that earlier. That
your job here is to represent the interest of the citizens.
absolutely
not the
You
city.
hit the nail on the head right there, Mr.
That's
Pierce.
right. And you said
There's
you called
4,000 people out here
you
that
said-
you represent.
That's right. Okay. At one time or another, you all promised to listen to the citizens. Has any one of you had a single call or an email from any of your constituents demanding that the city expand its service to provide a service that's already readily available? Are any of the citizens here in this room waiting patiently to ask you to please expand the city's services to the detriment of a private business? I've come to you today to ask you to vote no to an ordinance or a whatever it's called in today's thing, that would effectively put the city in unfair competition with existing local businesses with little or no benefit to the citizens at large. I also want to make a comment about something that Mr. Hegland said as a response to a question about why this is an emergency. He said in order to get extra money from the budget or to change the budget, you have to declare emergency. I think the intent of that law is that in an emergency, you can declare an emergency and get extra money. Not just when you need extra money, you can declare an emergency when there's no emergency. You need to think about that. Is that the intent of that law, Mr. Higland? That you just declare an emergency when you need money? Or is it supposed to be that the money's available when there is an emergency? The truth of the matter is, I'm not sure how long Mr. Schreiber has been the head of Public Works, but I know it's been over 10 years. And the truth is, this service was not being provided. The businesses in this town did not have an option of going to the city of Wichita Falls to get a 20, 30, or 40-yard container. And now that there appears to be a pretty healthy amount of business for that, the city wants to step in and take it. The ordinance, they say they're going to put an ordinance out there to protect these small businesses that provide these containers. But we don't know what that ordinance is going to be. These guys don't know what that ordinance is going to be. It makes complete sense to me that we fight that out. We discuss that, and we pass that ordinance before we take away the part of their business. Part of the business that I'm told is kind of gravy. If you've been in business, and I know a lot of you have, you know that part of what you do, you don't make much for, but you pay for it with other things you do, but you have to do it all. Just like a city government has to take care of all their responsibilities. I appreciate the opportunity to get up here and speak to you. And I hope that you'll do the right thing. And even if that right thing means table this for right now. The citizens are not clamoring for the city of Wichita Falls to expand its services. It's just like they were saying earlier. If you do have a dumpster, you can't always count on them coming to pick it up. A little bit of ice, a little bit of a holiday comes up, and all of a sudden your trash is piling up. That slows down business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name is Sean McCullough. I'll get this up here a little bit. I represent one of the roll-off companies, Wichita Waste Management, and I want to kind of go on a different outlook on how I'm going to present this to you. I don't want to spend a lot of your time, but everything that everybody has spoken to you here, yeah, it's all very important. But I've spoke to you once before. I've been in business for 20 years. I was a fireman here in Wichita Falls, Texas. Retired from that and went into business 20 years ago doing this roll-off business and environmental business. I actually worked for the city. Sometimes there's emergencies, they call me out. Fire department calls me out. County calls me out. I provide a lot of services, and it all revolves around the roll-off business. I have to have these roll-offs for what I do, whether it's an emergency remediation job or I'm out here working for all these. I work for a lot of the industries, like your Vitros and your helmets and all these different industries that I work for with the roll-off business. Until you set an ordinance first to figure out where you're going to go with this, I don't know what to think. I even have managers and environmental managers ask me, what's this going to do out here at our facilities? Well, let me tell you, they have commercial trash there. And if you don't write your ordinance right, then you have to start taking care of them. And anything you take away from me, like I got all my eggs in one basket, it takes, like a puzzle, it takes several pieces. And all them pieces work in conjunction for me to be able to provide all the different services that I provide. I haul haz waste out of town. I haul special waste. I haul commercial waste. Some of it goes to your landfill because it's required by state law and by your charter with these industrial facilities. It has to go to the city of Wichita Falls. If it can't, then it goes other places, like Fort Worth, Texas, like Dallas, like Oklahoma. It goes all over the place. If I can't provide that service because you start chipping away at what I've established, what you've allowed me to establish over 20 years, I've built my business. And believe me, I work for the EPA, TCEQ, OSHA, ODEQ, ADEQ, all these different things. You hear these acronyms? I've been doing it for 20 years. It took me a long time to get where I get. I carry over almost $20 million in insurance to be able to service all the community and all the things that I do in this community. And I'm talking about the commercial, all of it. And you're starting to chip away. And I'm going to tell you about your 2 trucks and 40 boxes. That's grand. Sometimes I have 2 trucks a day go down. I go out to landfill and get 12 flats. And I'm not kidding. There's bad days. And you're behind already. But your 2 boxes, 40 boxes from 2 trucks, they couldn't keep up with what I'm doing. And then you're going to take that away from me. You're going to take 15, 20%. That's 15 or 20% that I have to now start charging my customers, my PPGs, my Vitros, my helmets. Because what I lose in revenue, I have to train all my employees. They have to have training. They have to have license. They have to have training just to go on these facilities, which so would your drivers. Because if I lose this business or you start taking and I have to drive up their cost, who are they coming to? They're coming to you. Somebody has to do that business, and you're chipping away at it. And it takes all of it for us to operate at a profit. You're doing something that doesn't have to be done. You can set some ordinances, get the same revenue, demand everybody in the city. If we operate, we take the trash to the city, and you're going to get the revenue. But if you start chipping away at all of our foundation, the gravy, as you say, it takes that gravy. It takes them jobs. It takes your Woodco's and your Morrison Supplies, who have boxes back there for hot water heaters and old boxes and crates. It's going to you anyway. You're going to get the revenue. We understand that they need to set the little boxes in place and they need to have the city service. We're not going against that. Write the ordinance where it's right. But there's no need in you even getting a roll-off business if you write the proper ordinance and have the proper guidelines for us to operate. But if you start taking our gravy and our little jobs away from us, guess what? Now you're going to be responsible for a lot more because we're driving everybody. You're driving people's cost up right there because you're taking revenue away from us. And for us to recover that revenue, we got to increase our prices. And again, you need to think about it. If you write that ordinance in such a way where you're in charge of the commercial trash, guess what? Half the loads I take out of these factories are commercial trash. You're now responsible for them. Guess what? And I have these people asking me about this. So they'd like to be clarified. These big, they're the ones that have most of the jobs in this community. They're the ones that pay you the biggest tax revenue in this business, the biggest water customers, the biggest electric customers. And you're driving their cost up. And I promise, you may think I'm putting on a show, but I'm not. I've got 20 different things that I have to do to make my profit margin. And you're going to start chipping away at 15 or 20% of it right off the bat. Guess what? For me to stay in business, and I don't plan on letting you run me out of business, but I have to increase my cost. And if I increase my cost and put myself out of business, then they start looking for people because them services have to be provided. They're going to bring outside vendors in, and guess what? Now that money that was coming to me, a taxpayer here, is going out of town. And if you start putting your equipment on the highways, you got to start thinking about, I think you're self-insured. Just to go on one of these facilities, they don't allow self-insured people. You have to carry $20 million just to go on their plants because of the environmental risk. So there's a lot of factors that you're not being told, and I can tell you, just like everybody's telling you, you got 2 trucks and you got 40 boxes. And we only got about 30 people out there. I'm not going to sit here and tell you where they went, but I've got 20 of them, and I'm not breaking any laws. I've been there for 15 years doing these same people that you're wanting to go take away now. So go ahead, take them away, drive up the cost, get them calls from all these people every day that why is my box went from 150 to 250 to 300? Yes, sir, that is exactly what will happen. And Russell Scriber will have to say, well, Councilman, we were wrong. 40 boxes won't cover it. The calls won't stop. We need 20 more. We need 20 more. We need another truck. It's just like any of you that are in business, just like me. When I started this business right here 20 years ago, guess what? 1 truck, 20 boxes to do. Everybody remembers Certainty. I used to work for them a lot. Took care of every need they had. But guess what? 2 trucks, 3 trucks, 5 trucks, 6 trucks, 8 trucks, 100 boxes, 150 boxes. Everybody wants more revenue. Everybody there, you all are in business. You want more revenue. The city's supposed to be cost neutral, but if they have a demand, guess what they're going to have to do? They're going to provide more equipment and more boxes. And again, you need to think about the insurance and the requirements and the state laws and the federal laws and the fines going up and down the highways and the wear and tear. Guys, this is a cost you do not need to go into and a business you do not need. If you write the ordinance and construct it where we all have to operate by the rules, which we do anyway, I know I do, I have to. I work for the state. I know the EPA laws. I know the OSHA laws. I know TCEQ laws, ADEQ. I've been studying them for 25 years. I can promise you I know them better than anybody in this room. It's what I do for a living. So when you're told these things, you need to start thinking about the bottom line. Why are we even doing it when all we got to do is write an ordinance where everybody operates for the benefit of the customers, the city of Wichita Falls, the plants that I work for, the commercial, the regular customer? It can all be covered by nothing more than a simple ordinance constructed properly. I appreciate your time and thank you.
Thank you. Sir, name and address, please.
Andrew Bowles, Wichita Waste Management. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm 23 years old, and I'm standing before you fighting for a business that I just entered into less than a year ago. And I hope that that speaks volumes as to what y'all are trying to do. Today's a day for truth, understanding. It's a day for shame and for accountability. I mention shame because I believe that the leaders of our city should be ashamed. We're here today to discuss the issue of the roll-off dumpsters and where we, as the roll-off companies, stand in your eyes, the city. You've heard from my colleagues about the impact that us as roll-off companies have in the community. From my eyes, this goes farther than just dumpsters. It's an issue with the complacency of the people who say that they are public servants to this city. I'd like to offer a quote from a late Irish playwright, George Bernard Shaw. "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." From where I'm standing, the public's here. We're trying to make a change, yet we are being strong-armed by the city, and our businesses are suffering. Among the council members that sit before us, there's a combined 40 years of tenure between them, and countless more for the heads of the city departments. Where's the city's accountability? Where have y'all been for the past 15 years while we've been building the businesses? While these people have laid down their homes, built their families. 15 years. Where's the accountability for that? I'll begin to discuss a larger issue, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here. I graduated from Old High in 2017. Went on to attend the University of Oklahoma. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in finance and entrepreneurship. And I would say that I speak for an incredibly large number of young people that grew up here in Wichita Falls. We don't want to be here. The last thing that I ever wanted to do was to come back here to work. There's a lot of common sayings for Wichita Falls for people who go through high school and college. It's dead. It's a vacuum, uneventful, and it has nothing to offer. And trust me, council, I am saving you from a very long list of expletives that are very commonly associated with the city. I believe in the power of investment, and I believe that there is hope for this city. That is the reason that I came back here. When I graduated, I wanted to get away from here and as far away as I could. I had aspirations and job offers in Boston and New York City. Large financial firms and startups who had vision to change the world. I wanted to be everywhere but here. That wasn't until I had long, very difficult discussions with my father. He explained to me the significance of change that I could bring not only to his company but to this community. I could be the change for the future that I want and what I want for this city. This is where the hope and investment come in. When I look at this city, I can see it as an investment. And right now, it's stagnant, there's no growth, and we're sitting on a plateau. And for me, as a 23-year-old, it's sad that I can see that. For there to be growth, there need to be jobs. And this city is making it harder than ever to own a business. Wichita Falls is staged to grow. It has been staged to grow for decades now, and its potential has been neglected. You are actively taking away jobs, and you are now attacking the people that make up this city, and you are doing it with an ease that should be alarming. Why would anyone want to bring their businesses here and bring their jobs here when they have to deal with this? Why would anyone want to invest in a city that refuses to invest in them and is so eager to stab them in the back? I grew up watching my father and grandfather and Sean put their blood, sweat, and tears into building up these companies, and they have instilled a work ethic in me that I am proud of. I am proud of them, and I am proud of what they have built, and I am proud to have the honor to do what I do. I am proud of everyone who showed up today because they built their lives here, and they invested in this community. Them being here proves that they are willing to fight for their future and the future of this city. Let me tell you this, council members, I am not proud of the city that I came from. Members of the council, I implore you to look at this not as an issue of roll-off dumpsters, but as the change that this city needs. Invest in us. Invest in the people that make up this city. Be the change that we need. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Mickey Fincannon. I'm with M&R Services here in Wichita Falls. I own several businesses in the county. I'm what you might say, I've always been an entrepreneur, but I didn't come here with a written speech or anything, but I do want to speak to what's going on here. I've written emails to all of y'all. Most of y'all have responded to those emails and told me your overall thoughts on this. Most people in this room that I've talked to that are on the council believe that this is a little far-reaching. What I'm wanting to know is when you will stand up and put your foot down and be with the citizens to agree that it's a little far-reaching. But I'm just going to go over some points here that I wrote down and listening to people talk. Mr. Schreiber started this whole deal with the original meetings we had and doing a city council meeting where he put my dumpster on the streaming, saying that it was an illegal dumpster, without really doing any fact checking, I guess, because that dumpster, talking about how it was violations with the environmental agencies, which was all, he was misleading the council. That dumpster was rented by a construction company that was doing a remodel job at the Flying J truck stop. They were taking down shelves, putting in new shelves. If that would have been a city dumpster there, it would have been exactly the same kind of trash in it. So there again, I wrote y'all all a long letter talking about how I believe they were misleading you. And I'll tell you right now, I believe that your city manager, Mr. Schreiber, is misleading y'all. Your city staff, Mr. Hagelin, I think they're all working together to mislead the staff to vote a particular way. I'm a member of local government, and we have to listen to our staff, and we have to make the best decisions that we can. Sometimes our staff doesn't have all the answers. Sometimes we represent the people, and we need to listen to the people. It makes me very upset. I get pretty passionate about it because we should be listening to our people that we represent more than we listen to our own staff. As far as that driving out of our lane, I believe that's been misrepresented. You have a group of businessmen here that want to do the best they can for their business to make it as clean a business, as environmentally friendly a business as possible, because we don't want to get in any trouble. We all work together to strive to keep things the best we can. That's just what we do. You have businessmen that are running these businesses that have put their own blood, sweat, and tears into starting these businesses, their own money. They didn't come to the city and ask for money. I've started numerous businesses in this county, and I've never asked the city, the county, or anybody for money. We do it because we have a heart for the people. So, back to these couple of these bullet points. I'll echo what one of the speakers said before. Buying this equipment before you even create an ordinance to know what you have to do is almost ludicrous. It's a waste of the taxpayer money to spend the money before you know what you need to do. This is being done in a fast rate to avoid any citizen input. I think that they're trying to rush it through, so y'all just go ahead and vote, and we don't have a citizen input in it. I think that's wrong. The citizens need to be involved.
Mickey, what do you consider rush through? 'Cause
I would like to finish talking if I could, Mayor.
I mean,
If you don't
just-
mind.
Well, just your bullet
I'd like to
point.
stay on track if you don't mind.
All right, I'm gonna wrap down your bullet point then.
Thanks. All right. We did talk about, I know one of them did speak about lost revenue in 2019. Our very first meeting we had with the mayor and Russell, some of these local business owners, y'all brought up the fact that y'all really hated to lose trash to Owl Park landfills. That was a big strong point in y'all's original meeting. But yet, every meeting since that, it's been thrown out. It hadn't been discussed. When that waste company here in Wichita Falls sold out to Waste Connections, and y'all lost $50,000 a month revenue, that was a big deal. That money can't come back to you because that trash is going to Owl Park. The reason, and we talked about it then, and y'all kind of dismissed us, y'all could make an ordinance like that that said all trash generated in Wichita Falls had to go to Wichita Falls landfill. That would solve every one of these problems that you are talking about. And you're saying that you can't police it. Well, there's a group of dumpster operators here that would not take a chance in losing business, because you could kick them out of this city if they were hauling trash to another city. They could lose their ability to do business in Wichita Falls. And none of us are going to take that chance.
The live streaming went off.
Well, that figures. It does, usually goes off when I speak.
So can we check on that?
Yeah, we can stop, I
Yeah,
guess.
go ahead and pause for a second.
It usually shuts off when I speak every time.
It's part of the conspiracy.
Yeah, it's a big cover-up, yeah.
The big sanitation cover-up.
I was joking, Mayor.
I know.
Huh?
How many other speakers do we have? Raise your hand.
This is a pretty passionate subject, Mayor.
We got families to feed, ma'am.
You know, I'm gonna take a 5-minute break here. Let them work through that, and then we'll come right back.
Thank
Go through Mickey's rest of Mickey's points.